going to bring you up onto the stage here. Can you see us? I'll see a little bit, Becca.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm really excited to talk to you because all day we've basically been talking about, first of all, we haven't actually met. I feel like most of the people I've talked to, I have met in the past. I'm really excited to get to chat because
likewise.
Like what you're doing is like at the intersection of all of these things. It's like a collective, and it's on Huggingface, but it's open sourced, and you're experimenting with different models. And I'm excited to hear how you guys got to like building the thing that you're building. But maybe as a starting point, do you want to just give a quick intro for yourself?
Sure. Well, first of all, really excited to chat with you, Matt. Thanks for having us. I'm Karan Malhotra. I'm the head of behavior and one of the co-founders of Nous Research. And what we do is we're an open source research organization that works kind of at every level, from pre-training to mid and post-training, fine-tuning the RL stuff to agents. So we're kind of a full lab. Our mission and goal is to bring the best possible AI to everyone, and to do that in a way that is totally open source and open to people. We're worried about the future of pre-training and access to larger and larger models openly. And so with our distro optimizer, we've managed to actually connect GPUs without needing them physically co-located by lowering bandwidth requirements for training. And in doing so, we hope to be able to aggregate the people's compute in order to train these open models on our network, the Psyche network. That's our plan and what we're really, really excited about.
Cool. Okay, so that sounds related, but also almost like it's next to all this research. I think all of this research you all are doing, because you guys have released a whole bunch of state-of-the-art models when people weren't competing on state-of-the-art models. You're just sort of, my understanding was you guys were just like building things and shipping them, and people were like, these are really good. We're testing them, and they're beating benchmarks. And it was almost like incidental. So can you just tell me a little bit about how you were doing that? Right. So, I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Outsider.
Yeah, I mean, that's how we started. It started with myself, Technium, and a few others who were already trying to do distillation and train models after the Alpaca paper had come out. And what we realized was, hey, we have like a pretty good thesis for like data synthesis. And we can probably make some really, really cool models off the original Llama. So we made the first Hermes model. It just blew up, got like hundreds of thousands of downloads in like a week. People start asking, what is Nous Research? It was really just a few of us at the time, just working as like an open source cohort. And we decided to kind of level up once we realized a lot of talent was interested in continuing the work on making these models with us. It's funny you mentioned benchmarks, because the first Hermes we made, we were accused of training on benchmarks because of how high they were relative to the average at the time. And so we won't name who, but this accusation happened, and our response was simply, what are benchmarks? We didn't even know. We didn't even know what they were yet at the time. We were really just going forward with our thesis. And after this got independently verified, it was...
So you build your first model. It goes like viral in the open source community. It turns out to be like very good. And then you get a group of people together and start iterating on those models, because you've released a few. I mean, not only that model, but I think you've released a few different ones. And I mean, how many? It looked like it was actually a knowable amount of models you guys of endpoints you guys have released, or models have released. Is that, what are the kind of, how do you divide them up in your own mind? And then
Sure.
where that goes from the GPU piece that I was less familiar with.
Absolutely. So we first just put out the Hermes series of models, the first one. Before that, we put out this thing called GPT-4X Vicuna. It's like lost to time now. But after we put out the Hermes model, we had a breakthrough called Yarn, which extended the context length of models from 8,000, 16,000 tokens to 128,000. This was what ended up getting cited by DeepSeek, Meta, MIT, and eventually set up as a standard for 128K context length. So then we started making these big context models. So then after Hermes, we had a Hermes 2, Hermes 3, we had a 2.5 preview. We've released data synthesis models like the GenStruct model. And now we have these deep thinking chain of thought models like Deep Hermes available for people to use. Next, we'll be preparing our RL to put out for people, not just on math, but all sorts of cool, wonky things.
Really cool. Okay, so you've got these sort of different, like I think about like verticals of models, right? Because I was, and you release them open source, people start to use them, and now you the way you opened up what you described you're doing was kind of different than that, to my mind, which is how do you, I guess it's not quantizing, but how do you make the models workable on, is it fewer GPUs or is it across a distributed or decentralized set of GPUs or both?
Right. So we've always made models that we've tried to run on consumer hardware, whether that's through quantization or getting the best bang for your buck on small parameter models.
Okay.
And over time, we've kind of realized, model sizes are getting bigger. That doesn't mean that there isn't room on edge compute for running on your tablet, on your drone, on your whatever, to use Hermes home, to use it offline locally. That's important to us. That being said, we're worried that one day Meta may decide not to continue to release pre-trained models. As we may have seen from general sentiment, Llama 3 is preferred over Llama 4.
Is that because you can't actually run it, or?
I don't think so. I think Llama 3 is a better architecture series myself, at least from my own experience. And I'd say that, in the future, we could worry that even though pre-training isn't necessarily done, open source people will not continue to put out pre-trained models. Like Meta does it as a boon to us right now. They could decide to stop at any time.
Right.
So what was important to us was being able to secure the future of pre-trained models so we can continue to make more Hermes and other sorts of models and invite other people to make their own models too. We also want to make sure open source continues to have the compute necessary to train multimodal models like vision and video and audio and text in one. We want to be able to test out these different architectures and scale them up for the community. And the way we do this, is by being able to connect GPUs wirelessly and still train. So rather than needing to do everything in one data center or on one node, we can connect to various different ones. We can connect to your 4090s at home. You can put them together for training runs. That's where we want to go. And what we want to be able to do is just anyone and everyone can train models with their idle compute. There's no more idle compute. If a run breaks, that's what we want. Right now, if a run breaks because GPU in a node died, the whole node is not going to be used for that run until the next checkpoint or the earliest checkpoint. We can kind of just asynchronously swap in and out available compute. So we're really hoping that this brings a new paradigm of open public training to the community.
And the goal is, so the mission, I'll talk about this technology and the mission. Mission-wise, you're thinking pre-trained models. Right now, we're getting them for, we as developers using open source stuff are getting these as a byproduct of something that Facebook has decided, or Meta's decided to do, or other people decided to do. We hope that it stays the same, but it's not super obvious that this is going to be kind of a reinforcing loop. It could, people, besides we saw with OpenAI, open, closed, open. And so just not having to rely on that. So that's sort of the mission. I'll ask what I think might be a tangential question, but I'm not sure. Is there a role for web GPU in this? Or is that, a red herring that's sort of sitting off here and by default disabled and not going to be that important? Oh, wait, I lost you. You're on mute.
Sorry. I'll say generally, I think web GPU is super cool. I think be able to run cool, crazy shit in the browser using web GPU is very, very cool. As an advancement to WebGL, et cetera, this is super awesome stuff. Now, in terms of how we allow people to train and run, we'll really be running executable binaries on your computer. So we aren't necessarily using that resource. And that's communicating over the internet using your connection. Now, naturally, we want people to have a really strong internet connection so they don't bottleneck the run or anything like that. But that being said, hopefully you at home with your 4090 can actually mine by sitting at home. And rather than the byproduct being some verification on some block alone and an attestation that you did the work, it's in fact useful work in the creation of an AI model.
How do you think about that ownership, or how are people thinking about the ownership in that way? We had a couple companies talk about similar kinds of.
I'm very, very much of the mind personally, and maybe it's a little radical, that all open models, really all model weights, pre-trained models, should be public goods. And they are like water and air. Intelligence should not be corporatized and brought down into the sales world. Like, we're far more interested in intelligence being a public good for all, where anyone can kind of tap in, internet or no internet, and get access to our collective knowledge. Like, that's what, to us, like this whole distribution and decentralization is about. It's about creating public goods for people. And so I'd say that's why.
Okay, so that's great. So now have you already distributed this binary? I'm on like a wait list or something on one of your lists.
We've already done pre-trained runs live.
Yeah.
We've already displayed that we can train models 10, 15 billion params on GPUs from different continents. And we had a tracker with a whole progress bar, et cetera, on our website, distro.newsresearch.com. There, I think you can still see the, let me make sure. You can still see the run there, yeah. So basically, we have this run set up with the progress bar. It's now finished. We did it like a few months ago.
Okay.
But we're planning to do more. We want to bring a testnet together and bring people together and have them watch us do these big runs, and then for the main net open up and allow everyone to actually be able to contribute their compute directly, whether it's towards one large run or experimental runs for scaling new architectures that we haven't tried out yet.
Is it you're using a lot of sort of crypto web metaphors? Are those metaphors, or are those not only metaphors? Are you doing this in a?
They're not metaphors. Yeah, they're not metaphors. I'll say, like, we were very much thinking, like, how do we get everyone and all the good people of the world to give us their idle compute? And we figured on one end, goodwill and open source goes so far, but now if we want to compete with these giants, we really need some kind of incentivization structure to allow people to give us their compute and feel like they're getting something back, to create a kind of an ecosystem around it. So we absolutely are literally going to be launching a network. Yes.
And so is there a token that I was as you're describing, I was Googling research.
We've never issued any token or anything like that. We'll see. We don't really have anything locked in there, but we certainly are wanting to use those rails to allow people to feel good about, I'm a data center or I am an individual provider with a 4090 and I'm helping make this giant model.
I mean, it's not that different. I mean, Filecoin is a pretty direct analogy, except you've got GPUs instead of file space, I would imagine.
That's a good analogy, and definitely a huge fan of that project.
Cool. So I know we have limited chat time with everybody. For developers who haven't used any of your models, is the next way to engage with what you guys are doing to try some of these models on Hugging Face? Is it to actually are you guys interested in having people training models start to think of you as one of the places that they can go to train, or is it both?
Absolutely both. You can download any of our models on Hugging Face. We also provide the quantized version, so you can even run it on your phone, even the deep thinking stuff. That being said, we do have a chat API where you can use our models if you don't have the compute to run some of the bigger ones. We also have a website for it, hermes.newsresearch.com. You can chat there. Furthermore, our model is the default inside of the ELIZA suite of models, the ELIZA suite of agents. So any of you who are familiar with agent systems and these social agents, Twitter agents, etc., our models are the default there. It's a fun place to test them out in a more in the field rather than chat-based application. And finally, we're preparing and putting together some vision models as well for use and browser use based applications.
Awesome. What do you think right now, if you wanted your computer to use a browser, what would you use?
I'd use the system we're building. Because the closed models, they're very censored. They're not going to let you go everywhere and try everything out, or necessarily bypass anything that you need to have full use of a browser. So we want to give people that freedom.
Okay, and then actually one other question. I was looking at the which model was it? Deep Hermes 3 Llama 3.8 billion preview. And maybe I wasn't understanding this right, but it looked like the agent tools were almost built in. Like was it generating a tool on the fly for doing like stock lookup? And is that have I just not seen that elsewhere, or are you guys the first to do that?
We'll say, like, we've seen people train models for tool calling, like Claude. We like to think we were early to it. We've been doing it for a very long time. Just training the model to be able to generate tool calls as needed and be very good at function calling particular formats. Now what we've been working on is reinforcement learning around tool calling to really, really amp it up. And our hope is that, yes, absolutely, you can plug and play. That's where we want to go. We have a little bit more work to do to get there. But hopefully the devs who are watching and in the larger community, today you can already take that 1 or 2 extra steps that the model needs to get you there. We want to take your hands off the computer completely.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like that's where we're going.
Fingers crossed.
Thank you so much. And it's great I'm really glad that we got to connect through GLOSAIC, and I'm excited to try the APIs when you release the waitlist, and I'm very excited to be able to see the decentralized training models.
Thank you so much, Matt. Thanks for having us. God